Discover the incredible journey of a woman forced to marry her sister's crippled husband, a touch of love in the face of heartbreak. Emma's heart raced as she dropped a fresh plate of apple pie on the counter. Just like Mom used to make. She beamed, taking in the satisfied smiles of the locals at Maplewood Diner. But beneath that charming exterior, a heavy storm brewed. She had just lost her younger sister, Lisa, in a car accident, a swirling chaos that no amount of whipped cream could fix. And now, every pie she served felt like bittersweet memories stabbed with the sharp edge of grief. As she glanced around, her eyes caught Thomas. Lisa's husband sat there, a proud war veteran, once a figure of strength, now shrouded in silence and despair, his wheelchair framing a shadow of who he used to be. Emma felt a knot of resentment tighten in her chest. Wasn't it enough that Lisa was gone? Why did it feel as though she'd vanished into the silence left behind? Things will be all right, won't they? The hushed murmurs of the townspeople echoed like an unsettling soundtrack, and their sympathetic gazes weighed heavily on Emma. The perfect couple everyone adored was now a fractured memory. With Lisa gone, who would step into her shoes? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As days passed, Emma's heart felt suffocated, tangled in questions of duty, grief, and what it meant to honor the memory of her sister. She wandered past Lisa's old room, where echoes of laughter still lingered. Now it was a shrine of unrealistic expectations, a place where dreams turned dark, burdened by the weight of grief. But as darkness threatened to consume her, a flicker of hope emerged: an upcoming charity event to raise funds for Tom's rehabilitation. Reluctantly, Emma signed up to help. She didn't feel strong, but the community rallied like an old choir, voices rising in solidarity. As she stepped into that role, vulnerability filled the room, unexpected stories flowed from hearts, each shared struggle building bridges to Tom. In their shared laughter and tears, Emma began to see the humanity in their circumstances, not just Tom's pain, but her own. As they sat together, fragments of lost dreams mingled in silence, echoing the bittersweet nature of life and love. The evening swelled with energy and purpose. Laughter broke through the sadness like rays of golden sunshine. They were not merely supporting Tom, they were redefining the narrative of family ties in the face of loss. In this tender chaos, Emma slowly learned to forgive not just Tom but herself. Yet, even as hope flickered into existence, Emma felt the crossroads loom ahead. Longing for independence wrestled with the heavy cloak of responsibility. Could she embrace her sister's legacy without losing herself? As the event reached its climax, sheer vulnerability rattled through Emma. The weight of her sister's memory mixed dangerously with the potential for a new beginning. She could feel the future pressing close, yet uncertainty loomed just beyond reach. With the warmth of community behind her and the pain of loss ahead, she took a deep breath, knowing her journey was only just beginning. The quiet after the charity event left Emma feeling strangely adrift. The clinks of glasses and chatter of support faded into silence, and she found herself alone in the empty diner. The flickering fluorescent lights overhead cast long shadows, echoing her sense of isolation. Wrapped in the warmth of shared memories, she felt a chill creep in, an awareness that this was just a temporary reprieve from the grief that loomed over her like a heavy fog. Emma wiped down the counter, her hands busy to keep her mind occupied, yet it was as though each movement brought the reality of the past crashing back. The responsibility she felt towards Tom weighed on her. Her sister's absence was a constant ache, a bittersweet melody that haunted the diner, where every sweet aroma reminded her of lost moments with Lisa. As she polished a glass, she glanced toward the door. The moment didn't simply become about her or Tom, it was tied to the shared history they now held. How could she step into the role that Lisa had left behind? Love and loss mingled like the apples and cinnamon she baked into her pies, forming a blend that was both comforting and agonizing. "Emma?" A gentle voice broke through her thoughts. It was Tom, wheeling himself toward her, his expression unreadable yet soft. He had lost his wife, but in that moment, she realized he also represented the loss of her sister's hopes and dreams. "Hey, Tom," she replied, forcing a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. His gaze trailed around the diner, pausing on the empty tables and remnants of the event. "Everyone was wonderful tonight," he said, his voice low but firm. "I'm grateful for the support." I know it's tough," Emma replied, her emotions tightening her throat. "I can only imagine what you're going through." "Not just me," Tom countered, a flicker of pain igniting behind his eyes. "You're carrying a lot too, Emma." A silence settled between them, heavy with unsaid words. It lingered, stretching like an invisible thread, connecting them in their shared grief. Emma's heart thudded painfully against her ribs as she struggled to find words that could bridge the chasm before them. "What do you need from me, Tom?" she asked, the question hanging in the air, raw and unfiltered. It felt reckless to voice it, yet also liberating. His brow furrowed, an expression of contemplation washing over him. "I think I need someone who remembers her. Someone who can help me find a way to move forward without her, but not forgetting her." It was a stark truth, laid bare on the table like an unfinished meal that needed to be consumed. Emma's breath caught in her throat. She had been so focused on her own pain that she hadn't considered how deeply Tom was hurting. In that moment, realization dawned. Maybe together, they could forge a new path, one that honored Lisa while allowing them both to heal. Driven by an impulse she couldn't fully understand, Emma leaned closer. "Then let me help you. I might not know much, but I can be there for you." His eyes met hers, a glimmer of hope mingling with the sorrow. "We could help each other, couldn't we?" Before Emma could respond, the diner door swung open, a gust of cold air swirling inside. She turned to see a newcomer step in, a woman with an air of determination. Emma felt her heartbeat quicken as the stranger looked straight at Tom, a knowing expression on her face that sent a jolt through the room. "Tom. We need to talk." The woman's voice rang clear and commanding. As uncertainty rushed back in, Emma's heart raced. Who was she, and what did she want? Just as they were starting to find their footing, it felt like the ground was about to shift again. What new challenge lay ahead, and how would it change everything they had just begun to build? The stranger took deliberate steps toward Tom, each one heavy with intent. Emma watched, a mixture of curiosity and dread stirring in her chest. The woman's features were sharp and toned, her hair pulled back into a neat bun that exuded control. "Who are you?" Tom's voice trembled a little, uncertainty lacing his tone. Emma could sense the shift in energy. The diner seemed to contract around them, bringing an edge of tension to the air. "I'm Sarah," she said, not breaking eye contact with Tom. "We've got a lot to discuss." Her gaze flicked toward Emma, curiosity mingling with recognition. "I didn't expect to see you here." Emma squared her shoulders, feeling a need to defend the space she had begun to carve out for herself and Tom. "What do you want, Sarah?" "I'm here for Tom to talk about the charity, and Lisa." As the words hung in the air, Emma sensed the weight of the names shared between them, binding them to the past and a future that felt uncertain. "Lisa is gone," Tom said quietly, almost to himself, the pain breaking through the veneer of his composed demeanor. Sarah leaned closer, her voice dropping to an almost conspiratorial whisper. "That's exactly why we need to plan for what comes next. There's a lot at stake." "What do you mean?" Emma interjected, the edges of her worry sharpening into something that felt more like fear. She didn't want anyone else altering the trajectory of their fragile connection. "We have to consider Lisa's wishes. She left behind things that need to be taken care of. And Tom, you need my help." Tom's expression hardened, frustration clouding his eyes. "I don't need you to tell me what I need. Do you want to just float through life now? Or do you want to honor Lisa's memory? Because if you're going to do that, you need to face the hard truths. Sarah's tone was unyielding, yet somehow softened with compassion. Emma swallowed hard, the sensation thick in her throat. Would they really have to revisit fiancés and plans that Lisa had left behind? Her mind echoed with just how complicated it all felt. And what about all those hopes we had? Tom said, his voice cracking. All the dreams of a life together? It's not over, Tom. You can still honor her. But this journey will require you to make decisions that might be hard, Sarah countered. The air felt charged, crackling with unspoken possibilities. Emma's mind raced as she pondered the implications. Was it fair for Sarah to swoop in now, dictating the terms of grief and loss? Tom's gaze darted between Emma and Sarah as if his heart couldn't decide who to tether itself to. What do you suggest, then? He asked, voice wavering. I suggest we start a fundraising campaign in Lisa's name. We can bring people together, remind them of her legacy. But it can't just be about memories. It needs to evolve into something real, something tangible. Emma felt the room spin around her. A fundraiser? That was Lisa's domain, her life force. But could it also be the bridge to a new beginning? Tom sat back, contemplative. And you're here to help? Because I want to honor my best friend, and I know you do too, Sarah replied, the conviction in her voice as steady as the ground beneath her. Emma's heart raced again. Could they really work together? Trust this stranger? She glanced at Tom, their eyes locking in an unspoken pact. I'm in, Emma heard herself say. It was a leap, a binding knot to a journey unknown, but it was a step forward. Just as they grasped this new opportunity, a hesitant voice cut through their resolve. But what do we know about each other, really? Emma and Tom both turned to Sarah, who was suddenly engulfed in uncertainty. It was a simple question, yet it held the weight of 1,000 unknowns, connections waiting to be forged, and secrets yet to be revealed. As the diner hummed with potential and looming decisions, Emma felt both fear and excitement bubble within her. What would it mean to uncover not just Lisa's legacy, but also the mysteries of their own hearts? Would they be bound as partners or destined to clash? The stage was set. Who would emerge from the shadows of grief to stand in the light of hope? The answer felt just out of reach, hanging like the last flickering candle in a darkened room. Emma took a breath, her heart pounding as she focused on Sarah. The scene felt surreal, a strange blending of grief, hope, and uncertainty that both excited and terrified her. What do you mean by what we know about each other? She asked, trying to anchor herself. Sarah looked taken aback for a moment, perhaps realizing how much weight her question held for all three of them. I've been living in the shadows of what happened to Lisa for too long, she confessed, her eyes flicking to Tom. It's time we get to know each other if we're going to honor her memory properly. Tom rubbed the back of his neck, a nervous gesture that betrayed the tension coiled in his muscles. I don't even know what I'm supposed to feel right now, he admitted, voice shaky. I thought I was moving on. And now, I'm being pulled back into this. Emma felt the lump rise in her throat again. And it's hard, she murmured. Being reminded of everything we've lost. She was surprised by the softness in her own voice, the empathy mixed with her own feelings. Sarah nodded slowly, her face softening. It is hard. But if we don't face it together, we won't find a way to keep her spirit alive. We owe it to Lisa to learn more about each other. To build something good from this. There are stories to share, lessons learned. Maybe even new friendships to forge. Tom met Emma's gaze, and she felt a spark of connection flare between them, as if they both sensed the potential of what was being offered. What if we start by talking? Tom suggested hesitantly. What did Lisa mean to both of you? Emma nodded, her heart thumping heavier now. It felt like stepping into an unknown but necessary landscape of stories and memories. She meant everything, Emma said, her voice barely above a whisper. She was the sister I chose, always encouraging me and reminding me of my worth. When I lost her, I lost a piece of my heart. Sarah's expression softened as she listened. To me, Lisa was more than a friend. She was my compass. She kept me grounded when life got chaotic. I wouldn't be who I am today without her. The admission hung heavy in the air. There was something cathartic about their vulnerability, as if each word was a piece of the puzzle they were trying to assemble. Tom swallowed hard, visibly moved. I thought I knew Lisa in every sense, yet here we are, learning from each other's memories. It's so bizarre. The three of them sat in a circle of shared grief, the diner noisy and bustling around them, but within their small space, it felt almost sacred. As they began to recount their fondest memories of Lisa, the laughter, the dreams, those moments that had once felt mundane, Emma felt the tension dissolve a little. Yet, there was still an underlying worry that gnawed at her. They were treading on sacred ground, and she wondered about the emotions that might lurk in the shadows. The question of trust lingered, heavy in the air. Would this newfound connection lead them to healing? Or would it unearth deeper scars they weren't yet ready to address? Before she could voice her concerns, a waitress approached their booth with a pot of coffee, breaking the spell of introspection. "Refill?" she asked cheerfully, oblivious to the emotional storm brewing within their group. "Sure," Emma said, trying to regain her composure. She glanced at Tom and Sarah, and the unspoken agreement among them felt deeper now. As they resumed their conversations, Emma wondered about the emotional unraveling still to come. Would revealing their stories enable them to forge ahead, or would it leave them more vulnerable than before? Just then, a small group in the corner of the diner erupted into laughter, and Emma couldn't help but feel a tug in her heart. Joy exists amid the darkest moments, but would they be brave enough to welcome it, and what would they find waiting for them on the other side of their collective grief? The energy in the room shifted yet again, dancing on the edge of possibility, as if sensing that the next decision would mark a crucial turning point in all their lives. Would they keep pushing forward, despite the uncertainty, or would the past prove too heavy to carry on? Emma watched Sarah and Tom as they took deep breaths, gathering their thoughts. The waitress left, carrying an air of unknowing cheerfulness that felt jarring against the backdrop of the memories they were navigating. She forced a smile when the coffee arrived, pouring it into her cup and stirring it absent-mindedly. "I remember the first time Lisa took me to this diner," Emma began, her voice a little stronger now. "She was trying to convince me to try their famous pie. I was so skeptical, but she promised me it would change my life." Tom chuckled lightly, breaking into a more relaxed expression. "What did you think? Was it life-changing?" Emma grinned, encouraged by his shift in mood. "Well, it didn't literally change my life, but it made that day feel special. Lisa had this way of making everything seem bigger than it was. Even a simple slice of pie." Sarah nodded, her smile growing warmer. She had an incredible talent for finding joy in small things. "Like, remember that time at the beach? She built that ridiculous sandcastle and insisted we all help decorate it with shells. I thought we'd never get out of there. That was epic." Tom exclaimed, a twinkle in his eye. "I mean, we spent the whole day huddled around that thing like it was the Mona Lisa." "The sandcastle of dreams," Emma added, her heart swelled at the flood of memories. "It was silly, but it was one of those moments I look back on and just smile. That's the Lisa I miss the most, so vibrant, so alive." But as the warmth spread through their conversation, Emma felt a tremor of uncertainty still lurking within her. This was all lovely, but was it enough to bridge the chasm of their grief? "Do you think," Sarah hesitated, glancing down at her coffee. "Do you think Lisa would want us to be sad like this? Or would she want us to celebrate?" For a moment, the question hung heavily. Emma pondered it. "I think she would want us to find light again. To remember her not just in tears, but in laughter too. She wouldn't want us to be stuck. What if we did something for her? Tom suggested, his voice gathering strength. What if we organized a day in her honor? Something she would be loved? The thought sparked a flicker of energy among them. Emma leaned forward, intrigued. Like a remembrance gathering? We could invite people who knew her, share stories, maybe even do some of her favorite activities. Sarah's eyes brightened. Yes. We could even cook her recipes, play her music. It could be a way to keep her memory alive. Tom nodded vigorously. And we could each write something about her, a memory or a lesson we learned from her. Then read it out loud. Emma felt her spirit lift. It would be a journey. A way to channel their grief into something that echoed with Lisa's essence. Yet, just as the idea illuminated a path forward, doubt trickled back in. Would it really help? Would it heal them, or simply stir up more pain? The laughter from the other group faded to a low hum, and she could see the thoughts swirling in Sarah and Tom's eyes, mirroring her own concerns. Maybe they were all thinking the same thing. The deeper they dove into memories, the heavier the hurt could become. As Tom reached for the coffee pot again, Emma's heart raced. They were standing at the edge of something big, an emotional leap that could either give them solace or toss them further into sorrow. Let us do it, let us plan this day, Emma said, her voice firm yet tinged with uncertainty. The commitment made between them felt electric, but it also begged the question, would they be ready for what might surface as they brought Lisa's memory back to life? Emma shivered slightly, filled with a mix of hope and fear. Would they find the courage to share their truths, or would the past prove too insidious to overcome? As they sat there, bathed in the noise and bustling light of the diner, Emma realized they were about to embark on a journey unlike any they had faced before. Would embracing the memory of Lisa help them weave through their grief, or would it unravel them all over again? Emma felt the weight of her decision settle on her shoulders like a heavy blanket. It was meant to be a tribute, a celebration of Lisa's vibrant spirit. But the thought of standing in front of a crowd, sharing her memories, made her insides twist. Would it feel like exhuming Lisa's ghost, or would it be a warm embrace of all she left behind? Tom reached across the table, smirking. You okay, Em? You look like you just saw a ghost. She shot him a playful glare, but a laugh escaped. Just trying to figure out how we're going to pull this off without completely losing it. Sarah chimed in, her voice softening. We'll be in this together. Just like always. Remember, Lisa believed in us and in our strength as friends. We can do this. That notion settled into Emma's mind. They were a team. They had always been. The fear of unraveling was palpable, yet it was matched with a warmth that spread through her, igniting a possibility that maybe, just maybe, it could be healing. The diner bustled around them, a comforting chaos. Emma's heart started to beat a little faster as she envisioned the gathering. What if we set a date? No going back once we do. Tom nodded, eyes sparkling with determination. Let us make it special. Maybe on a weekend? We could transform the park. Lots of space for all sorts of activities. Yeah. Sarah jumped in, her enthusiasm contagious. You know how Lisa loved to be outdoors. We could hang up lights, make it feel magical. With every passing moment, the idea took more shape. Thoughts of decorations, food, and laughter spiraled through their minds like confetti in the air. It felt invigorating, like they were stepping into a world Lisa would have adored. Okay, Emma said, breathing in. How about next Saturday? We have a week to pull it together. Sounds perfect, Tom agreed. He looked between the two women, his expression brightening. I'll handle the food. I can raid Mom's recipe book for all of Lisa's favorites. Sarah grinned widely. I can organize the activities. Games, music, everything. We can even have a sandcastle building competition in her honor. Emma's cheeks ached from smiling. It wouldn't be just an event, it would be a heartfelt manifestation of their love for Lisa. The bittersweet edge lingered, but so did the promise of joy.as they commenced planning. A myriad of ideas fluttered around their heads. Emma's heart thrummed with excitement mixed with an odd sense of foreboding. Was it too soon to embrace happiness again? Let us not forget the memory sharing, Emma reminded them, her smile wavering. It's important. It might be the hardest part. I'll go first, said Sarah, her voice light but her brow slightly furrowed. You know I'm a hot mess, but I'll stand there and let it pour out. She wanted to believe it would bring healing, yet there was that little voice whispering doubts. Emma took a deep breath, envisioning the gathering. Would they be able to share the laughter and the tears without fracturing again? By the time they left the diner, determination swirled with uncertainty in the air, a dance of conflicting emotions. As Emma stepped out into the evening light, the world around her buzzed. Cars drove by, people strolled, laughter echoed, but a storm was brewing inside. Could they hold on to Lisa's light while facing the dark shadow of their grief? As she walked away, Emma's thoughts drifted back to Lisa's laughter, beckoning her to step forward into the unknown. With every stride she took, the question loomed larger: would the memories they revisited bring them closer together, or would they risk tearing them apart all over again? The week flew by in a flurry of plans and emotions, each passing day building up to the gathering. Emma found herself lost in thought, often staring out at the park from her window, picturing the twinkling lights they would hang and the laughter that would fill the air. Yet, as the day approached, anxiety gnawed at her. The night before the event, she lay in bed feeling restless. The shadows cast by the moon danced across the walls, casting a surreal glow in her room. She thought about Sarah and Tom, how they each wore their own grief so differently. Tom pretended to lead with bravado. He would joke and smile, but Emma saw glimpses of sorrow flickering behind his eyes. Sarah was the heart charged with excitement, yet trepidation lingered beneath her vibrant smile. Emma understood that deep down, they were all wearing masks. Underneath it all, they were still processing Lisa's absence. The morning sun shone brightly, illuminating the park as Emma arrived early to help set things up. As she walked, her mind raced with a mixture of anticipation and dread. What if it didn't feel right? What if they couldn't capture the essence of who Lisa was? What if the presence of her absence pressed too heavily on their hearts? Tom arrived with the food bus, his mother's prized recipes filling the air with comforting aromas. He greeted Emma with a crooked smile, but she noticed his hands trembled slightly as he unpacked. Everything's going to be great, right? He said, trying to sound upbeat. Right, Emma replied, forcing a smile. We just need to keep it fun. Sarah showed up moments later with balloons, colorful streamers, and all the supplies for games. Her energy was infectious, but the laughter in her voice seemed to mask tears waiting to escape. Look at this! She exclaimed, tossing a balloon up. We're going to make this place come alive. As they worked together, transforming the park into a vibrant space filled with memories, the atmosphere began to crackle with potential. They shared stories, reminiscing about Lisa, which momentarily lightened the weight hanging over them, but when Sarah brought up the memory sharing, the air thickened again. Emma tensed, afraid of the tears and vulnerability that would emerge, but she pushed down her fears. They couldn't shy away from the hard parts. Those were also part of the love they had for Lisa. Okay, we need to discuss who's going to start, Emma said, cautiously. We're all going to have to do our part. Tom stepped up, his voice steady but low. I can go first. I have a story about Lisa, something silly, and it'll lighten things up. Good idea, Sarah agreed, her apprehension showing through her enthusiasm. Let the laughter come before the tears. As the sun began to set and the park transformed under strings of lights, Emma felt a swell of warmth. How beautiful it looked, how real it felt. But doubt lodged a thorn in her heart. She longed for Lisa's laughter to ring out with them. Gathered around picnic tables, friends and family began to arrive, their faces lighting up upon seeing the festive scene. Emma took a deep breath, her stomach churning as she recognized how many people shared this grief. The moment approached. Tom stood up, eyes scanning the crowd, and the laughter dwindled. "So, I have to tell you about the time Lisa tried to bake cookies for me." The way he began to speak felt like a bridge between the past and the present. Laughter bubbled out of the crowd as they leaned in closer, and for the first time, Emma felt the tightness in her chest loosen just a little. But then she caught a glimpse of Sarah, her face a mixture of joy and sadness. Was that a tear glistening in her eye? Emma's heart pounded as she considered the path ahead. This could be healing, but it could also be devastating. And amid the laughter, she heard the echo of unprocessed grief waiting to be shared. As Tom continued with his story, Emma felt the hairs on her arms prick. What would she say when it was her turn? And when the heaviness swept back in, would they have the courage to carry each other through it all? The moment was drawing closer, and within her, the truth sat heavy. The bond they shared would either bind them together, or shatter them apart in ways they never anticipated. Emma's breath caught as Tom's laughter echoed through the park. He spun a tale of Lisa, flour everywhere, a nearly burnt batch of cookies, and the way she erupted in giggles over her own disaster. It was a patchwork of joy woven into the fabric of sorrow. The crowd, hanging on every word, was a wave of emotion. It felt good, refreshing, like the breeze that lifted some of the weight off her shoulders. Yet, as Tom's story wrapped up and applause erupted, Emma's heart fluttered with fear. She could feel the minute hand of time ticking down. Soon, it would be her turn. She looked around at the faces of those gathered. Some were smiling, others teary-eyed, but all shared a connection to Lisa that pulsed like a current through the air. "Who's next?" Sarah chirped, trying to keep spirits high. She clutched a bright pink balloon, her fingers intertwined as if it were still possible to hold the memories inside it. The crowd murmured, glancing at one another. Emma felt the world spin a bit more, and before she could process it, a voice from the back called out. "I can go." It was Jordan, their childhood neighbor. He had always looked up to Lisa, his face lighting up even now with fond memories. Jordan stepped forward, clearing his throat. "I remember this one time, Lisa insisted on teaching me how to ride a bike, even though I was terrified." As he spoke, Emma caught snippets of shared laughter and unforgettably funny stories that painted a picture of strong moments and cherished memories. Each story felt like a delicate thread, reinforcing the bonds between everyone present. But lurking beneath all the cheerful exchanges were the unspoken words of grief and loss. With each tale, voices grew steadier, and laughter deeper, but Emma's heart raced. The knot in her stomach tightened, bringing with it the bittersweet awareness of what would follow. Happy memories inevitably gave way to the melancholy of absence. Finally, Sarah stood up, her hands trembled holding the balloon. She glanced at Emma, their eyes locking in silent understanding. "Emma, would you like to share next?" The challenge swam before her. Would it be a memory? Would it be a fragment of grief? She felt everyone's eyes on her, heavy, expectant. A rush of warmth flooded through her, but self-doubt threatened to shatter the moment. "I'll try." Her voice wavered. She rose, her heart pounding so loud it drowned out everything else. Emma felt the weight of the world as she took a deep breath and stepped forward. There was a choice between opening up her heart or retreating into silence. But what if it hurts too much? The thought lingered ominously, yet on the horizon, there was a glimmer of hope. Maybe sharing would lessen the burden, like a pain shared between friends. "Lisa loved to dance," she began, her voice finding strength despite the tremor in her throat. "Every time we heard our song, she twirled around without a care, spreading joy like confetti." The crowd leaned in closer. Emma felt their collective presence pulling her forward, her emotions spilling out, raw and unfiltered. She began to paint a vivid picture of Lisa, twirling through life. Tears pricked her eyes, but she pressed on, battling through the waves of sadness. As she transitioned to the moments of camaraderie they had shared, laughter bubbled gently amidst the tears, blending the two emotions that felt so opposite yet so seamlessly intertwined. Would they find comfort within this shared grief, or would it unravel them further? Emma looked into the faces she loved and felt the audience begin to carry her weight. But just as she was about to delve deeper, a loud crack across the sky jolted them all. Thunder? The night had grown dark, clouds looming ominously, and insecurities crept back in. What if the storm reflected their hearts, an unending tempest of unspoken words and emotions? As the first raindrop fell, the crowd's laughter wafted into silence, tension wrapping thicker around them. Emma's heart raced, wondering what would come next. Would the storm bring cleansing rain or just more strife? Uncertainty crackled in the air. Emma stood there, vulnerable, feeling the imminent seriousness of what lay ahead. Would this gathering of memory bring them closer together, or would it open scars that had yet to heal? Emma's voice faltered momentarily as the first rumble of thunder echoed above. The laughter faded like wisps of smoke, and she sensed the tension around her shifting. The park, which had been filled with warmth, now felt like a stage set for an impending storm. Emma's heart pounded. It was as if nature was mirroring her inner turmoil. She took a deep breath, gathering herself. Lisa would have hated for a little rain to stop the party. "I can't forget the way she always wanted to make things special," Emma said, her voice steadier now, flourishing under the gravity of the moment. Every birthday, she would be planning surprises weeks in advance. "One year, she turned my room into a galaxy, with stars painted on my ceiling. She even managed to get my favorite band to record a birthday message for me." As she shared, memories poured from her like a leaky faucet. Emma could almost hear Lisa's laughter, see her bright smile. People around her began to nod, eyes shining with their own remembrances of joy. For a brief moment, the darkness above faded as they basked in the light of shared nostalgia. "I remember how the girls and I stayed up late pretending to be famous pop stars, singing at the top of our lungs. She led us, always the star, always full of life." Emma's cheeks flushed with warmth at the recollection. But even amidst the silliness, she had this way of making you feel seen, heard, like you mattered in every single moment. As she spoke, those memories felt like threads weaving a tapestry of connection among the gathered friends. She noticed a few tears in the crowd, but she wasn't afraid. This was all part of the process. Then, she heard another rumble of thunder, louder this time, as if to say the storm was impatient. Emma swallowed hard, locking eyes with Sarah, who squeezed her hands tighter around the pink balloon. There was understanding, a sisterhood that transcended spoken words. Even on her toughest days, Emma continued, Lisa could always find a spark of joy to share. And when it came to storms, she would always say. Emma's voice shook even more as she recalled. "Rain can wash away the dirt, but it can't touch the beauty of who we are." The crowd shifted. People shifted in their places, some murmured gentle affirmations, but others looked down in silent contemplation, as if the storm had conjured their own hidden sorrows. A gust of wind whipped through the park, catching Emma off guard. She felt alive and yet so small against the vastness above. She had wanted to honor her friend, but doubts crept in. Was she enough? Was her voice strong enough to bring healing? Just then, as the rain began to fall, the gathering took on a transformative quality. It wasn't simply sadness swirling in the air, it was catharsis. Some were smiling through their tears, while others held each other closely. A storm can bring both a deluge and renewal. "Maybe this storm is a reminder," Emma said, looking around, understanding that some had retreated into their memories, while others were opening up. "None of us are alone in this." And there it was, a glimmer of hope piercing through the clouds. As thunder grumbled in the distance, Emma felt a weight lift, a revelation unfolding. Perhaps sorrow could give rise to unity, as painful as it was. As raindrops fell lightly at first, those in the crowd began to laugh. They danced under the downpour, a messy chaos that felt daring and freeing. Emma felt the tension in her heart release just a little, watching Sarah take off her shoes, but then, just as the gathering seemed to light up with laughter, a sharp sound of breaking glass shattered the moment. Emma froze, the joy in her veins replaced with a jolt of fear. What had happened? As a few anxious eyes turned in the direction of the sound, she wondered if perhaps they were about to confront something deeper than they had bargained for. Something darker still lingered beneath the surface of this celebration of life. Would this gathering, once ignited by shared joy, turn into an unexpected confrontation of truths too heavy to bear? The rain danced upon the park, and Emma felt it wash over her, bringing a sense of renewal. Laughter echoed amid the droplets, the shadows of grief gently receding as everyone embraced this storm. But a crack of broken glass startled her heart into disbelief. Who broke something? Tom's voice rang, worry etched in his features. The mood thickened almost instantly. Like moths to a flame, the crowd shifted, eyes darting to the noise, pulling away from the joyous commotion that had just ignited. Emma's heart sank. Had the fragile spirit of their gathering already begun to crack? Pushing through the onlookers, she spotted Sarah, frozen, her eyes wide. There lay a shattered picture frame on the ground, one that had held a treasured photograph of Lisa at a beach party, sun-soaked and radiant. The sight birthed anxiety deep in Emma's chest. Unbidden, memories flooded back, their laughter, the carefree moments in the sun, even the bittersweet ones from when they said goodbye. No. Not like this. Emma thought, fearing that image would only serve to remind them of Lisa's absence rather than her presence. What just happened? Someone asked in a hushed tone. Emma felt eyes turn toward them, and suddenly, the light-heartedness began to puncture. Let us clean this up, Tom said, stepping forward. Don't worry, it's just a break. We're here for Lisa. His voice held conviction, yet Emma could sense the hesitation. Would they falter again, circling back to sorrow before they could really lift off into remembrance? As everyone bent down to gather the scattered shards, Emma took a breath and reached for the largest piece. She held it up to the light, the image of her sister smiling back, just as vibrant now as it had been then. Hey, everyone! She called out, the familiar warmth swelling in her chest. Let us remember the good times, the light. Lisa wouldn't want us to fall apart. The rain poured down heavier now, but as if summoned, laughter erupted again, shattering the tension that had just begun to gather. Yeah. Let us all share our favorite memory of Lisa. The best stories have a bit of messiness in them, right? Sarah chimed in, her cheerful voice breaking through the clouds gathering in their hearts. Encouraged, they began to share, one after another, weaving joyful memories of their late friend. Emma shared the image of Lisa in a sparkly dress at her high school graduation, unyielding in her excitement and dreams. Each laugh brought them closer, tugging the strings of a past devoted to joy rather than sorrow. As the rain pounded down, the world transformed. It was like a baptism, washing away uncertainty and fears. They danced in the downpour, hands raised, celebrating everything that Lisa had infused in their lives. Heartbreak mingled beautifully with laughter, the shattering glass forgotten amidst these wild flashes of joy. Amidst giggles, Emma spotted Tom, his face a blend of relief and laughter. He looked lighter, like a piece of his soul had been unfurled in that moment. This is what she would have wanted, a celebration. He yelled above the rain, his voice full of conviction, and in that second, it struck Emma. Each of them had been hesitant, waiting in their grief. But through this chaos, they had created not just grief but unity, a tapestry of memories stitched together with threads of shared joy and hope. Together. Emma shouted suddenly, an abandoned sentiment rising from the depths. We're stronger together. Let us live for her. Let us be the joy Lisa would have wanted. They rallied around her, the crowd bonding around her words. No longer were they merely individuals drowning in loss, they transformed into a collective heart, beating in rhythm with Lisa's legacy. As the storm began to break and the clouds parted to reveal a winning patch of sunset, the park glowed like a sacred space. Emma felt the tug of connection envelop everyone, whispers of gratitude and love shared like invisible threads binding them forever. Finally, a sense of peace washed over her. We'll not just remember you, Lisa, we will honor you. Together. She declared, the emotion. Heavy yet liberating. As rain transformed to gentle drops, they rallied to begin crafting the sandcastle of dreams they had once built together. All of them ready to construct not just a memory but a legacy colored with laughter, love, and ongoing connection. Days, months, years would come, but the spirit of their sister wouldn't fade. It would echo through every laugh shared, every tear shed, and every story told. All right. Sandcastle competition begins now. Sarah cheered, joy returning to the group, embracing color and life unabashedly. And as they began, Emma realized that they were not just building a sandcastle, they were solidifying a chance to embrace life in its fullness. Messy, beautiful, and deeply intertwined. Emma stepped back to take it all in, her heart swelling. This was family. This was love. And as she cast a glance toward the sky, she smiled, knowing Lisa would be cheering her on, laughing with them all. In that light, embrace your heart. Embrace the chaos. Embrace connection. Live loudly, love fiercely, and keep the memory alive. And now, my friends, this is the moment you need to take action. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and support more transformational tales. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about this ending. And don't wait not even one more second. Share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions. Let us keep the love going.